Back down in the shop, um, I've been making jewelry with silver clay, um, and sterling silver metal, sheet metal, and so that's very safe. I think to work with. Um, but lately, I've been doing stuff with copper because I just got my rolling mill and I'm learning on it. And I did experiment a little bit with silver, but that's a little expensive. I had a piece of copper, a sheet that a friend gave me, so I've been experimenting with that. It seems fairly safe to work with. But that made me start thinking about brass, because maybe I can get a gold look into my jewelry now if I think about making pieces with brass. So I went from thinking about copper to thinking about brass. And then I thought, well, I've got a rolling mill with it's a combination mill. I can make a wire. Can I take this brass rod that I got from the hardware store and feed it through the rolling mill and get brass wire and little pieces of flat brass? Well, you know, I know nothing about brass, so I started looking around about how do you solder brass, how do you anneal brass, how do you pickle brass, and then one thing led to another, and then I found out that wait a minute, a lot of brass alloys have lead in them, and so that made me have to research this out a lot better because I don't want to get involved with dangerous levels of lead. So this is when I checked it out at the hardware store, is alloy 360 uh, brass, which means that it has 3% lead in it. So yeah, they use that alloy for pipe fittings and brass plumbing and other brass items, but uh, I would not use something with that much lead in it to make a piece of jewelry that's going to be in contact with skin, even though it may not leach from the brass to the skin. I just wouldn't do it. So I looked at, well, let me go to Rio Grande's website, see what they sell for brass, and they have the composition listed on their data sheets, and they sell jeweler's brass. Now, if I was a jeweler, I would already know this, that you should be using jeweler's brass, and it has very low lead content. It still has a little, and if you look at the different classifications of uh, metals for lead content with regard to jewelry, all their jeweler's brass falls within safe parameters to be used for jewelry. So I don't I'm not trying to make an ad for them, but I'll be buying jeweler's brass and being very aware of the lead content. Now, even though it's safe, jeweler's brass is safe for wearing. Um, I think you still need to take some extra precautions when you work with it because you're going to create dust if you saw the brass. And so that dust will contain minute amounts of lead. So I'm going to be still thinking. I'm not really sure yet if I'm going to work with brass. Um, you know, Maybe if I want to work with gold, I want a gold color, I should just, spend the money and buy the real thing, which would be you make a much more valuable piece. So that's what all I had to say. I mean, I'd be interested in comments about people's experience and thoughts on working with brass and jewelry.